game-winning layup and back-to-back wins, and Ja Morant is back like he never left. Up until his 25-game suspension, the two-time NBA All-Star was living up to every hype about him. Unfortunately, now that he is back, it seems that Ja Morant just might never be the same. Ja returns. There's no denying that Ja Morant is the future of the NBA. Agendas aside, the 2020 NBA Rookie of the Year has proven himself to be one of the top guards in the league. And in case anyone needs reminding, Ja made sure everyone knew in his first game back from his 25-game suspension. He led the Grizzlies back from a 24-point deficit to beat the New Orleans Pelicans, the largest comeback by a team that entered the game with a .250 or worse winning percentage in the past 25 years. We're talking about a player who hadn't played in an NBA game in months and still finished with a 34-point, 6-rebound, 8-assist performance and the first game-winning buzzer beater of his career.
Jones out on an island by himself there against this league that can guard this young man one-on-one.
He went for 13 in the third. Morant goes for 34 in 35 minutes and wins it at the...
In just the final 90 seconds of that game, Ja had 3 go-ahead field goals, all of which were on isolation drives against New Orleans Pelicans defensive stopper Herbert Jones. It was the most go-ahead bucket in the final minute 30 of a fourth quarter in the past 25 years. The night was perfectly set for Ja Morant, and he delivered as he powered the Grizzlies, who were on a 5-game losing streak and were 6-19 since his suspension. Before that game, the Grizzlies were tied for the second-worst record in the Western Conference with the Portland Trail Blazers. And now, after 2 games with Ja Morant on the team, the Grizzlies are currently on a 2-game winning streak. Whatever the case, it would be wrong not to talk about why he even had to go on his 25-game suspension and why his return might just be a little too late for a guard who is looking to rebuild his superstardom. Suspension over, but pending case. Ja Morant sure had a troubling 4th year in the NBA, all of which were his fault though. His recurring issue with guns, as described by the NBA, was conduct detrimental to the league. The first of his problems with guns was in a game against the Indiana Pacers when Ja, his father, T, and his best friend, Davante Pack, got into a fight with Pacers players. According to Pacers players and a security guard standing outside the parking lot, someone in an SUV Ja was riding in allegedly pointed a red laser at the Pacers bus. Fortunately for Ja, he got away with it as the NBA declared that after analyzing the case and the security footage, it wasn't possible to prove that any individual threatened others with a weapon. Anyway, it didn't take long for his gun problems to get him in trouble with the league. On March 4th, he flashed a gun on Instagram Live, and since he was violating the NBA's policy on guns, he was banned for 8 games. At the time, he was apologetic, telling reporters that he had to make better decisions than the ones that affected him and the Grizzlies. Ja even deleted his Twitter and Instagram accounts to publicly show his repentance. But he wasn't fooling anyone when he was caught on Instagram Live flashing a gun again. Whatever the case, the NBA wasted no time in giving him a lengthy ban, suspending him for 25 games. Anyway, he is back, having left all of that behind him as he looks to rebuild his image. But unfortunately for him, he still has some sins he is still paying for.
He threw the ball to Mr. Holloway.
He caught it by his chest.
Ja Morant and his friends allegedly assaulted Joshua Holloway, a 17-year-old high school athlete, at his house during a pickup game in the summer of 2022. Holloway even claimed Morant's sister joined the fight and began to kick and punch him before Ja flashed a handgun in his face to threaten him. Holloway and his mother sued Ja and his friend Davante Pack, but a misdemeanor assault case against Davante Pack was withdrawn only last month, leaving only Ja Morant with a lawsuit, a year after it was filed. In any case, during his testimony for the lawsuit, Ja confessed that he swung first at the teenager to protect himself, and he would not apologize to Holloway for punching him since he was protecting himself. Unfortunately, while Ja's legal team is working hard to have the lawsuit dismissed, the judge presiding over the case has since admitted that she is not ready to rule on the Ja Morant immunity hearing, which means that even though the All-Star guard is back on the court, he still has a civil court lawsuit to deal with. For what it's worth, he could win or lose the case, but one thing he can't do about it or the 25-game suspension is undo the permanent harm he has done to his career and image, leaving many NBA fans wondering how he'll ever recover. A long way to rebuild. Coming off a 25-game ban and still having pending legal issues, Ja Morant sure has a long way to go to repair his already damaged image. His initial 8-game suspension for flashing a gun cost him $39 million in contract extension bonuses. while a second ban saw the star guard lose $309,000 per game, with all of it totaling up to $7.7 million. Anyway, he signed a 5-year, $193 million contract extension in the summer of 2022 and could afford to lose that much money. But one thing he couldn't afford was a negative image in and out of the league. Ja has a Nike signature shoe, and last season he had his highest ever ranking in NBA jersey sales, reaching 6th in the first half before sliding to 8th in the second half. He was nearly about to lose all of these, and he only dropped down the jersey sales rankings because of his gun incident. You have to understand that Morant is a very young megastar with many teenagers looking up to him, and since the gun incident and ban, he has a long way to rebuild his image. He is only lucky to be sanitized to PR-approved perfection because he is a star. If he were a rank-and-file role player, he would have been kicked out of the league. But since he is still in the NBA, that comes with a price too. Obviously, he is not the first NBA superstar to have gun issues, but doing it twice in a month shows that he has a long way to go in rebuilding the league and his fans' trust in him. For what it's worth, Ja Morant is on a clock to repair his damaged reputation, as it could very well linger on throughout his time in the NBA. Interestingly, he is not only on the clock to repair his image in public, but also to the Grizzlies. His return has shown that he is needed, but do you really think he is indispensable? If you think otherwise, keep watching. Needed, but not indispensable. Without Ja Morant, the Memphis Grizzlies were 6-19, losing their first 6 games of the season, and were only able to snap their second 5-game losing run when he returned. They've won 2 in a row since he returned, beating the Pelicans and the Pacers. This is a team that planned on staying afloat without their star guard, but failed miserably, and it was too obvious with how quiet FedEx form was. The fans were dead. I've never played in Memphis like this. This is my first time being in Memphis and not having the crowd into the game, Anthony Edwards said during their game against the Grizzlies. Anyway, Ja Morant is back, the fans are back, and the team is winning, so we can only agree that they needed their superstar guard. Was Ja Morant's absence, however, the sole reason the Grizzlies have struggled? After all, before this season, the Grizzlies had a .573 record when Morant played and a .607 record when he did not. Since the beginning of the 2021-22 season, the Memphis Grizzlies' overall record, including playoffs without Morant, is 33-17. In the 27 games, including the playoffs that Ja Morant missed during the 2021-2022 season, the Grizzlies outscored opponents by an incredible 376 points. The Grizzlies outscored opponents by 4.1 points per 100 possessions when Morant was on the court, and by 6.4 points per 100 when he was not. And they did it again last season. So, what's different this time? Anyway, what changed was the availability of other players on the roster. This season started without experienced center and enforcer Steven Adams, who had season-ending right knee surgery. Brandon Clark, Adams' backup center, was also out injured, having suffered a torn Achilles last season. Marcus Smart, the team's newly acquired guard, sprained his foot in their loss to the Los Angeles Lakers and hasn't played since. 3-point specialist Luke Kennard, who was in the league's concussion protocol for 3 games during the opening week of the season, also hasn't played a game since the Lakers' loss, where he injured his knee. Who could forget Derrick Rose, another crucial Grizzlies player out with an injury? D-Rose missed the first 8 games of November due to knee discomfort and is currently considered week to week with a hamstring strain. The Grizzlies' extended injury absences are the reason they've been bad this season, not entirely because they missed their star guard. Obviously, his return means he gets to start, but for a team plagued by availability, the Grizzlies have shown they can do well without Ja. So you have to wonder if and when the superstar guard forces the Grizzlies' front office hand with another suspension-worthy ban, would he ever recover? In the meantime, several Grizzlies fans have shared their thoughts on Ja, and one user commented, "I hope he learned a thing from that suspension because another one would be bad." Another commented after his game-winning layup against the Pelicans, "If this game doesn't show him how important he is to that organization and league, then I don't know what will. Hopefully he's matured and ready to roll." What do you think about his return? Let me know in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, the next video on your screen is